Felicia Jefferson. Welcome to Bar Seat Conversations.
Hi.
This feels very full circle for me. And Barseaters, here's a little backstory. I started my wine journey while living abroad in Italy. When I first moved back to the States a few years ago, it was to work on the retail side of the wine industry. And even though obviously I am American, it was a very big culture shock to me going from this very old world wine landscape where everything from visiting the vineyards, meeting the producers, and tasting small production wine that never leave the region, let alone the country, to don't even get me started about pricing. Everything was so accessible. Then suddenly I had to completely shift my perspective on wine. I had to be super aware of its life cycle after it leaves the vineyard and look at it in a much more modern, systemic way, especially on the retail side. That was a lot to adjust to. But honestly, if it wasn't for you, Felicia, I can guarantee my experience would not have been what it was. I'm so grateful the stars aligned and brought you into that chapter as the person who guided me through it. So thank you so much for being my first guest. But before we get into everything, bar seaters, please help me welcome her. Felicia, please introduce yourself.
Well, Gina, I am so thankful that you have me as your first guest. I do feel like it's full circle. Honestly, when you're like famous and I'm like, Gina, don't forget to shout me out the awards, then it might feel full circle to but for now, it's like mid circle. Mid circle? But no, this is so exciting, and I love that you're finding more ways to explore
Thank
your
you.
passion and your path for wine. To me, it's the most exciting thing now that you can choose your own flavor. When it comes to wine, there's so many ways to access it, to bring people closer to it, to talk about it, and it just fills my cup up. So thank you for having me. I am a child of two Army officers, and because of that, I have had the opportunity to live a number of different places in the United States. And so as I kind of grew up in the world, I have always been quite a curious person. I thought I was going to live a very structured life, but somewhere in my adulthood, I was like, what if I didn't have a regular job? And I found a way to follow my passions. And so I always worked in restaurants kind of part time when I was in school. I worked in nicer and nicer restaurants until finally worked in a restaurant with a celebrity chef and master sommeliers.
Oh, nice.
Right. That was my first exposure, and I was like, "Wait, what is your job?" And some really amazing master sommeliers really influenced how I saw wine, how I saw hospitality. I was like, "Okay, I kind of like restaurants, and so this might be a professional
Hmm.
path where I can see my particular
Hmm.
path for wine, right? Where you work in a nice restaurant, you
Yeah.
decide to be a court sommelier, you go to tasting group and you test
Yeah.
and you do all of these things, right? It filled my cup up and it was great,
Yeah.
right? And I did that for, almost 25 years. I met my partner, my husband
Yeah.
doing that. We were colleagues in the same, community. And so
Yeah.
when your spouse intimately understands that we exist in this space where it's like, yeah, sometimes a winemaker's in town and you have to go
Yeah.
out until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock the next day in the morning, right?
Always worth it when you're with the winemaker,
It's
though.
always
It's
worth it
always worth
because
it
you're
if you're
building
with the
connections.
winemaker.
At the end of the day, we all know, right? The best wines that winemakers produce, they don't sell those wines. They drink those
Exactly.
wines. You get the special bottles and you get to build those just deep, deep, deep connections and in a time where loneliness is rampant, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Tell
it's a
me about it.
it's a great job to have.
It's a great connector. In-person experiences have been what we needed in order to build community, but I feel like definitely now it's a necessity to build community. I mean, I'm an iPad baby. I need to get off my phone too, but I feel like it definitely needs to be a heavy shift to like, no, 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 we need to get together. But yeah, to go back to you and your amazing story and your amazing journey. You said your parents, they're very structured, rule following couple, and that built your understanding or perspective of like how to operate outside the home, right? And then you transition into this hospitality industry, more wine focused, giving your beautiful experiences of being around people in the industry. I just wanted to go back to baby Felicia. When you were first introduced to the wine industry, was it as welcoming? Or did you feel like I love this place and I'm passionate about it and I love these people, but I also do feel like I need to kind of create my own space within the industry? Or was it like, this is great, this is fine, I'm happy the way, things are?
Honestly, I would say a little bit of both.
Mhm,
I think as I've gotten older, I think it's
mhm,
really important to acknowledge where you exist, what space you exist in, and the opportunities that are available because of the time that you're built in. And so I think it's important when I talk about, was there a space for me? Well, yeah, there was,
mhm.
because I got to even decide that I wanted to be a part of that
Yeah.
conversation. Because if you ask women who I know right now who are in the wine industry, hospitality professionals, what it was like when they started,
Mhm.
and so, yes, of course, like, yeah, there was space for
Yeah.
me. There were people who were willing to talk to me, open doors for me, have a conversation with
Mhm.
me, put their professional reputation on the line. But I also, it didn't come at zero cost.
Yeah. Wasn't for free.
It wasn't for free,
Yeah.
right? And so there were a lot of things that I had to do and not do, and lessons that I learned both privately and publicly about
Mhm.
what it looks like to be in spaces that, in theory, would
Yeah.
love to have you, but are not set up functionally for what it means. Right?
Ac
Just be in that space,
Yeah.
thrive in that space, not have to endure in that space. And I think that people who are committed to true service and hospitality look
Yeah.
like, right? That's making everybody feel welcome,
Yeah.
and I love that.
Given how you gracefully navigated your introduction to wine, let's kind of like get into your resume, which is I love. You served as head som at a nationally recognized hotel restaurant.
Yes, that was a monster of a position.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
is
well,
re
let's talk about it. For our listeners who don't know, what does a head sommelier do? Like what's their day to day?
So it really just depends on where you work. A hotel program, oftentimes you will be in charge of the outlet that you're working in. But in the case that I was in, I was also in charge of private events for the hotel itself. And so purchasing, procuring, curating the wine selections for private events as well, because they wanted to offer a boutique experience to those guests who are paying, I'm sure, the highest premium in DC, right? Because the space is beautiful, the staff is professional. You have asked for something and they will deliver on it. And it was my job to source rare and fine things for hundreds of people. But from a buyer's perspective, right? Buying power is something that is super important to sommeliers, right? Do you have say over the list that you are in? And I had a lot of say. And so I worked harder than I have ever worked in my life, right? We're talking 70, 80, 90 hours a week. But I was in charge of like $52 million in wine. And as essentially like a baby sommelier, my eyes were open to all of the things that are possible in that position, from people calling on you that have never called on you before because they want to showcase their wines, they want you to come and visit them, they want to do all of these things, but also like the professional respect that you get, right, from your colleagues, because there are a few programs that are able to do that. And so it was truly professionally
Mhm.
one of the most expansive experiences I have ever had.
So being a head som at a hotel restaurant, you basically balance a lot of the on-premise experience as well as the special event experiences as well. Was there anything about the role that kind of surprised you or no one ever told you about that you had to figure out or learn along the way?
Yeah, yes, so many things. Truly, some that probably stick out to me is, I don't want to say the politics of wine,
I mean,
but
we're on DC, so
it,
that's
it
not
real, and that's really what it is, right?
Mm,
You have to be very strategic, right? Being a buyer is not just about what you want to buy. And it's not about just buying things that you don't want to buy, but you understand that your clients and your guests want to enjoy. It's also about who does that wine come from? Where does that wine come from? Are you navigating, right, the three-tier system as effectively as you can to leverage the most for your business, right? Are you interacting and bridging the gap in communication? Because even though you typically in that role don't have any direct reports, you're not managing people, you are managing resources
Yeah.
in a way that no one else really is or has to. And so it's very important for you to understand lots of dynamics that happen. Whereas when you are just a som on the floor, you get to come in, you get to do the best parts of the job. Come
Yeah.
in, sell wine, chat with people, go home.
Yeah.
When you have more responsibility, you have more responsibility. And so, yes, you do get to buy and influence, but you also now are responsible for all of these things selling and not just selling, but selling at a profit, right?
Yeah.
Making sure everybody has an educational understanding of these things. And ultimately, as a person who now is in charge of people's education, even though you don't have direct
Yeah.
reports, you have to carry yourself like a
Mm.
person who does. And so I think that transition from being a som on the floor and enjoying
Mhm.
myself and selling wine and just doing a thing that I love to this larger role that has so many rippling
Yeah.
effects. Because, if the sommelier is rude to the server and the server is upset, even if it's just a perceived slight or whatever, they're not going to take in the information that you need to then translate that knowledge into sales.
Yeah.
That hurts the business, right? You have to police yourself differently, right? If you don't give the correct information and then somebody fact checks your server at a table and then they
Mm.
look stupid and the guest experience has been diminished because now they're like, my server's lying, but they're like, but I talked to the som and they said this is right, right?
Yeah.
So many things that you don't necessarily account for because now you are in charge of the financial
Mhm.
responsibility of the business in a
Yeah.
way that you just weren't before. And so I think that transition, I was like, oh, okay, I have to manage the wine, and I also really have to manage myself in a way that I'm not just like a cool person on the floor now. I'm also not a manager because I
Yeah.
only manage one, but I also kind of am. And
Yeah.
so in different restaurants and organizations,
Yeah.
sometimes that person is directly managing and responsible. And I learned later on that
Mm.
I required that. So
Yeah.
that there wasn't this ambiguity of, well, she can't tell me what to do, but also like, and not tell you what to do, but create new systems, right? Enforce
Yeah.
a new policy, all of these things that matter when you have a chain of command. I realized that I didn't just want to worry about wine and anything else, that I truly want to have the ability to impact the guest experience. And the only way for me to do that is to have a say in what that looks like.
You also worked at a Michelin starred and James Beard nominated restaurant, an environment with a very different style of service, right? How did the expectations of the rooms shape what you could and couldn't do as a wine professional versus being a head som at a hotel restaurant?
I really think that every job is different.
Hmm.
Right? I have worked at a variety of styles and cuisines to, 2 Michelin star gastronomic,
Hmm.
everyone is spending many, many hundreds of dollars and waiting months, sometimes years to dine there. And in that environment, every guest experience has to be perfect. When you're talking about people waiting for so long and putting so much time and energy into this particular evening, the margin of error is zero,
Hmm.
right? I've worked in places that just due to their price point, or the type of clientele that you're serving, right? When you are waiting on very famous and powerful people, sorry, if it's Michelle Obama's dinner, you can't mess it up.
You better not. You
That's it.
better not.
Right. And so it's, maybe every evening isn't, the president and first
Yeah.
lady, but that you have to understand like that this is the range.
Mhm.
And I've also worked at medieval times.
I love medieval times. Well,
And
no, you know what? Shout out to medieval times because 'cause they're
shout
still
out,
standing strong.
shout out to medieval times
Still standing
because,
very strong.
right. And so I think that like hospitality truly is about understanding your capacity, right? And being able to rise to whatever that
Mhm.
occasion is. And I don't think a more casual environment means worse service. It's about anticipating your guest
Yeah.
needs. And it's about being genuine about it. When you're in a Michelin starred restaurant and you're holding your sneezes in because someone's paying an amount of money that you would not utter to eat there, or you have the president's secret service standing in front of you and you're like, oh, can't mess this up. Yeah, those environments
Yeah.
require different things, but I think at the heart of them is understanding that food is the great unifier.
Mhm.
Almost everybody loves to eat, and when you have the opportunity to give somebody just pure hospitality, no matter where they are or what form it's in, that's the reward, right? That's the gift,
Yeah.
and the things that you have to do, the service part of making hospitality happen, honestly, it's the part that I love, right?
Yeah.
It's the moves to the dance so that when the music starts, we all know what we're doing.
I loved when you stated every job requires something different. Every job is different. And I also want to take into consideration every place is different. Very much so. Especially when we're talking about alcoholic beverages. So we're in DC, which has a very, very unique relationship with alcohol. We call it the Wild Wild West because it's not a state. It operates under its own laws, and the distribution system reflects that, right? For someone who's navigated it professionally, can you break it down? Like, how is DC different in comparison to major cities like New York or LA, and why does that matter in the context of serving beverage and alcohol?
Yeah, so I don't want to get too technical, so let's just kind of go big
Yeah.
picture. So, how most alcohol works, right, is every state has their own laws essentially that say if you want to sell alcohol here, you have to say that you want to sell alcohol. You have to sell it as the person who makes it. I make Felicia's fancy frescas. They're actually alcoholic
Mm,
frescas. So, okay,
mhm,
Felicia, you have to sell them to so and so distributor who's going to
mhm,
make sure he takes your Felicia's fancy frescas to all of the stores and then they sell it to the people.
mhm,
You sell it to them to make sure everybody's abiding by the appropriate tax laws,
mhm.
et cetera, right? And we want to make it fair, so everybody has to pay the same price for
Yeah.
Felicia's Fancy Frescas, and that's $1. Well, at each of those tiers between me, Mr. Distributor, and Target, Walmart, etc., my product, my $1 Felicia's
Mm,
Fancy Frescas, gets more expensive
yeah.
because each of those people has to do work. Which means that if I don't make a certain amount of money or
Mhm,
there's a certain amount of people that are willing to buy my product, it essentially means that I can't sell my product here
yeah.
because I don't have money to pay that guy.
Everyone. Yeah.
Right. And so what does that mean? That
Mm,
means that not as many people get access to smaller brands that they might
yeah.
not know. The big guys kind of get to pay the play and
Mhm,
run the shots. And it makes it kind of a monoscape when it comes
mhm,
to the quality and variety of
yeah.
beverage that you can get. Now, if we're talking about how that works in DC and why DC is different, well, DC is an estate. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't have those state alcohol laws. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was this thing called prohibition that
Oh,
happened in
yeah.
America. We have a lot of really weird laws
Mm,
that prevent a lot of amazing brands from getting to people who would really like to know about them. But
yeah.
instead, they only have the choice of, Mr. Big box name, etc. So in DC, because that state doesn't exist, we can kind of move in and out of those. So
Yeah.
Felicia's Fancy Frescas, I can come in and I can go to the DC governing body that
Mhm,
manages both alcohol and weed, right? I go down to
mhm,
that office and I say, hey, I want to sell my Felicia's Fancy Frescas to this
mhm.
person. And they're like, okay, just pay your daily duty, like
Yeah.
$5. And now you can legally sell because you are a business that is
Yeah.
set up business to business, not
Mhm,
individual to individual.
yeah.
Also, as a business, I can go out. I own Felicia's Fancy French Bistro, and I can go out and I can buy alcohol from anybody I want
Yeah.
and sell it in my store. And so, what happens is that DC becomes this place where
Mhm,
smaller
yeah.
producers who don't have the means to pay or are producing enough product, right? Big distributors don't just want someone who is going to only sell them a small amount of product. And so because DC doesn't have to follow that strict 3-tier system,
Mhm.
right? As a small business can bring in products that just my guests, just my customers, just my clients want.
Yeah.
And I can work directly with these smaller brands to give them access, space that they haven't had before. And for some brands, it is the difference between whether their brand can succeed or not.
Yeah.
And a lot of brands don't know about it. So DC is a really special place. And especially as a person who navigated these systems and bought in a lot of new products,
Yeah.
it really is advantageous for people to come here. And it makes DC a really special place.
I feel like the DC market, especially working where we working, we got introduced to a lot of local startups from fresh Hampton grads who came out with a canned cocktail. And then next thing you know, they're on our shelves. Or shout out to Rocky, which was like also a big hit. I mean, we do call it the Wild Wild West, but hey, it has its benefits. It
Flexible
really does.
pricing too. Like in DC, you can charge one person something and another person something else, which
That's why you have to be your best behavior
but
with people.
also, if you're a smaller brand that maybe not can afford that price point because of your gas, you
Mhm.
can work with smaller people and be like, "Hey, can we work out a deal?" Right? So, yeah, be nice, but
Yeah.
also be nice.
So
If there's one takeaway that I have learned, sometimes you can be right and nobody else has to know.
literally. So you've worked on premise and off premise as a buyer and distribution. So you have such a well rounded insight into the different areas of the life cycle of beverage. If you can change one thing about how wine and spirits move through DC, producer to distributor to the guest's glass, what would it be? And who would benefit most from it?
Well, because I'm from the people, I'm by the people, I'm for the people, probably for the people. I think there are a lot of really amazing things about wine. There's a lot of really challenging things about wine too.
Mhm.
Um, one thing is I just want guests to understand why things cost what they cost.
Yeah.
Right?
Please,
I think there's a
please.
lot of guest misconception, client, consumer misconception
Mm,
about why something is expensive. If you explain to somebody that saffron, right? Things that have to be individually pollinated or individually harvested, right? With tweezers, right? These things that can only bloom on one night of the year. Yeah, okay, I can understand why something in such low production that requires so much intensive manual labor, why this thing is
mm,
expensive. But I think because we have such a wide variety of wine and because
yeah,
like most agricultural products, Americans are really detached from that entire
yeah,
process, it's hard for people to understand, like, why can I pay $2 for this thing and this thing costs $2,000?
yeah,
It's not simply about just the liquid, right? It's about
yeah,
all of these other things at every single stage, right? Like, if you know that you literally have grapevines and for 10 years you have to tend to these vines, you have to water them, you have to
yeah.
prune them, you have to care for them like a baby, and you get nothing from them for a decade, don't you think that that wine might have to cost
Something, yeah,
I I don't know, think of a number. I it can't be $5. It literally cannot be $10. You're telling me you wait 10 years for something. You give it all of those resources and you should be able to pay $10? Well,
mhm,
yeah, if you buy a $10 thing, it's because it's not made like that. It's because
yeah.
they're doing a lot of
Cutting
Wait,
corners.
baby, there's a lot of stuff happening at the furthest extreme of that when you're talking about bottles of wine that are current release and they are $8,000, $5,000. You cannot buy them. And it's like, well, why?
Mm,
Well, baby, like when you go to a fine dining restaurant, why is that dinner $500? And when you go to McDonald's, why is it $10?
yeah,
Like, you have a concept of everything being more expensive. The labor is more skilled, the people, the building, the lights, and it's like that for wine. It's just people understand it before they're like, "I can't believe this is this." It's
yeah.
okay if you can't afford something,
Totally fine.
right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't gawk at the price of Lamborghinis, baby, because I don't look at Lamborghinis.
yeah.
You shouldn't be looking at that. And I know everything is in this book and it's making you feel a certain kind of way because it's your birthday or your special occasion. But baby, I'm here to tell you it's just a lifestyle you can afford. And it's
Yeah.
okay. Meatloaf isn't disgusting. Lobster is delicious, but meatloaf's not disgusting. I love meatloaf.
Everything has its place. Everything has its
Everything has
place.
its place, and it's for your understanding. It's okay, just be honest with yourself. What's your price point? Okay,
Yeah.
and within your price point, what can you experience? And conscious consumerism is so
Mhm.
important because in a capitalist society, the only way that we make change truly is with our wallets. And so,
Yeah.
informing yourself. And then the other thing is like, I just want it to be, and this is not like a DC thing, and I know this is like a pipe dream. I want everybody to be able to buy all the wine. That's not a reality. If you were in a wine program and you want to be able to buy XYZ, there's a lot of like kind of politickings, and I understand why that exists, but I truly just wish that like people could just buy what they want. But when you're
Yeah.
talking about seasonal agricultural products, that's not possible.
Yeah.
There's a finite supply of everything, and it cannot be available to everyone. But I wish that it
Yeah.
was.
If you are shopping for wine or if you are at a restaurant, you see a big list and it is confusing, just talk to the som. Just say, here's what I want to spend. Here's what I'm thinking. Please
And if
help me.
they're rude to you, drink beer.
Yeah, drink beer.
Wine. Don't
Do
do
not buy
it.
wine from them,
Don't
because
do
they're
it.
supposed to be helping you have a really good experience. So just let them know, you know,
100%.
don't use ChatGPT to Google every wine in the book.
Don't do
Just
that.
just please socialize yourself to ask the Psalm, please. It's a low lift thing.
And that's the thing, the best wine professionals, the best sommeliers, they are not flexing their knowledge. They are inviting you into a conversation. It
Exactly.
should it should feel so fluid and natural, and they should be asking you questions, not telling you things, right? Like, yes, that conversation is going to go both ways, and ultimately they should give you great options and recommendations. But if someone is making you feel dumb or bad when you're buying wine, then you don't need to buy wine there. And that's for restaurants and retail. The thing about wine is it brings people together and
Mhm.
allow it to, right? Some of the
Mm.
absolute best wines I have had the opportunity to be able to drink in this world, iconic, just breathtaking beauties, have been shared by people who are kind, generous wine people. I have never purchased those wines. And so pay it forward, be kind, make regulars, talk to people in line, right? Share
Uh-huh.
your passion, be a person who, even if you can't travel to wine places, find out cool wine places in your neighborhood, in your city,
Yeah.
in your town. And if you live in isolated places, this is the unfortunate part, which sometimes feels
Access.
purposely, right, exclusionary. Like, sometimes you have to go to the place where the thing is because that is the only way to get it, and it's sad, but it's true.
Yeah.
But it opens your
Absolutely.
world, and I think that's the best part,
Yeah.
right? Traveling with blind people.
Yeah. And speaking of opening up people's worlds, you recently became a mom to a beautiful angel of a child. Congratulations.
Praying for nap time.
Oh my goodness, yes. I know in any industry that transition can be challenging for a lot of women, but with the wine industry or the hospitality industry in particular, it's notoriously brutal on schedules, right? The most busiest days are holidays, right? You have long nights, working on the weekends. How has becoming a mother reshaped what you're willing to give this industry and what you're no longer willing to sacrifice?
Yeah, honestly, this has been the largest transition of my life,
Mm,
right? Because we spend so much time working towards our careers, and ambition seems like the prize, right? When you're in your 20s and you're pushing through, especially in wine, especially as a woman, especially as a brown woman, it's just like I spent so much time just solely focused on my career. And
mhm.
because my husband was also in the same industry, it made it very easy, especially in food and beverage.
Yeah.
Your days, your off days. Oh, it was my off day, but I went to a tasting and I answered
Yeah.
some emails and I sent some order. And when you're both right in between the time that you're at work and the time that you're continuing work outside of work, right? We're working still
Mhm.
70, 80 hours a week. And when we're not, we're still doing work related things with work related people, and you forget sometimes that like just because you work with people, colleagues and friends are not the same. And it's okay.
Yeah.
But, like, when your life is so intertwined, sometimes you
Yeah.
forget to step back to be
Mhm.
like, "Okay, what else is there?" We are people
Yeah.
who obsess, right? Especially in
Mhm.
food and beverage.
Yeah.
We obsess about a thing that well, not that many people care about the way that
Yeah.
we care about it. Food is essential, but most
Yeah.
people are
But the
not
way
like
we enjoy it, yeah.
it's different, and so I'm I know this might sound harsh, but what am I willing to give the industry now?
Mhm.
I don't wanna say nothing, but, like,
Yeah.
if it requires me to take it from my child, you can't have it.
Yeah. That's fair.
Everybody mother's different, right?
Mm.
I have I'm like, "Y'all, anybody I have beef with, the beef is gone." Like, yeah, I'm a new person. I literally don't have capacity to hold
Yeah.
anything other than what is best for my child, and what's best
Yeah.
for my child is me being the best version because children do not care what you say, they watch what you
You
do.
do. You
And
do.
so I can tell my daughter, like, be kind, do this, but am I being kind? Am I doing that? I can
Yeah.
tell her that grace over everything, but am I showing grace over
Mhm.
everything? I can tell her truth and love, but am I show? And so if you
Yeah.
can't model those things for your children, what you say doesn't matter. They're
Yeah.
going to call you out as a liar because children have the strongest sense of justice and
Mhm.
they can spot
Yeah.
inconsistency faster than anybody else. And what I don't wanna do to my child, my brown girl in this world,
Mhm.
is teach her to gaslight herself,
Yeah.
to not trust her intuition when something doesn't
Yeah.
feel right. I'm like, "Well, that's what mama and dad." No,
Mm.
baby, right is right and wrong is wrong, and the
Yeah.
rules should apply to everyone equally, and even if they don't, I wanna teach you the discernment to
Yeah.
know that that's reality, and
Yeah.
how do we navigate through that,
Mhm.
right? And so,
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't what I'm willing to give, y'all can't take none, that's my baby's, okay? She gets all of me. When my kid doesn't need me full time, that's when you guys can have me.
Exactly.
Till
Yeah.
then, I do my little side projects, do my little consulting, I help out my friends, but I'm minding my own business, I'm tending my own garden. I'm sorry, I would love to be on the
No
internet, y'all.
apologies. Make
The
no
world
apologies.
seems wild right now, so I'm on the
Honey, it
internet
is.
too. People are like, "You had a
It
kid?"
is.
Only if you know me in real life. If you know me in real life, you know I had a baby. Otherwise, I will resurface and my child will be wonderful and you'll know her then. But
Yeah.
for now, the
Mm-mm.
trade-off is just I feel like we normalize a trauma in America of moms going back to work too soon,
Yeah.
and it breaks my heart. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
As
It's tricky.
I just am so embarrassed for my old self who didn't understand that these parents were fighting for their lives before they got to work. I'm like,
Now, thinking about working, hustling, doing all of this, and your kid is calling
calling
you,
my
13th
sister.
reason.
Let
Like
me tell you, my sister is a ICU nurse and said her charge nurse came in her a patient's room and was like, Michelle, your daughter's on the phone. My sister was like, she got out of that room, ran, picked up the phone, was like, baby, what's wrong? Everything okay? My niece was like, yeah, mama, you just weren't answering your phone. So can you tell me where my sister was like, that whole hospital heard me cuss my kid out that day. She said, what? She said, what? You did not call me on the main line?
literally insane.
But don't you ever do it.
I look
So
at my mom in a whole new perspective because I'm just like, I
I'm
can't,
free
I,
falling into it, you know? I'm like, "Okay, I'm here. I'm gonna be I'm momming full time."
yeah.
And I didn't think I would be, like, locked in like I am, but
Oh, I knew you were gonna be locked
it's
in.
so
I knew, and
good.
I'm so happy. I love seeing you as a mom.
It's my
Maybe because
greatest
you mentored me in such a way that it was more than just a teacher, right? And I knew given
Oh,
how you handled that situation, I'm like, she's gonna be a great mom, right? Just the way you took on leadership. I was like, oh, she's gonna be fine. She's gonna be great. And I'm proud to say you're doing a great job.
Gina. Well, girl, you almost had me crying.
Oh.
Um, and when it comes to you, Gina, I just saw so much of myself in you. I really did. I have been there. I am her, like,
Yeah.
I've been there, and I
Yeah.
so desperately have always just wanted someone to be like,
And I needed it because I came in there I needed somebody to hold me by the hand and be like, "Listen,
Girl,
listen,
be better
listen.
than me, do better than
You sweet
me,
summer
have more
child."
than me, do all the things. I want that free I want that so deeply, and if there's anything there is never a time in your career, truly in your life, where
Yeah,
you cannot reach down and help somebody else up.
yeah,
Like,
100%.
baby, and I want that
Yeah,
because there are so many people who did that for me,
yeah.
so many people, and some of them I appreciated at the time, some of
Mhm.
them, it's taken me a while to be like, "Dang, that was a lot,"
Yeah,
and I just know that our industry is going to the only way that it is going to
yeah.
grow and get better is access, accountability, and people really understanding that, like, changing somebody's
Mhm.
whole life doesn't require that much.
It really is a
Just
little lift,
required
man.
like, it just requires awareness. Protect your reputation at all costs, babe. Everyone does not get to ride on this train. Sorry, but if you have the ability and it
Yeah.
is someone, like, let them show who they are, right? Give
Mhm.
people the opportunity to, like, to thrive
Yeah.
because, baby, it's hard enough. Not everybody's doing their best, but
We're
the deep understanding that people need to have that sometimes your best is still gonna harm people.
That's deep.
And
That's deep.
as a parent,
Yeah.
right, part of my, like, reflections and my mantra
Yeah.
is, like, I think people have a really hard time
Mm.
accepting the fact that their best can still be very detrimental to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and being able to take accountability for that.
That's tricky for people because I feel like they like to dissociate themselves between their actions and what happens because of their actions.
Uh, impact and intent. We have a lot of conversations about that over here in Felicia land.
So, on this note of advice, helping people along in the industry, if the version of Felicia who was just starting out could see where you are today, what do you think she'll be most proud of and what would still surprise her?
She'd probably be proud that I stayed in it.
Yeah.
Like, truly, because this industry is hard.
Mhm.
It takes a lot. It gives a lot, but it takes a lot, and if you're not able to manage that and to learn lessons publicly, right, privately, to have people, to celebrate you when you're high, but also talk about you when you're low, it's a lot, and so I think she would just be like, "Dang, girl, you still in it? Okay, what you doing?" Because I think sometimes it's a misnomer that, like, this was your only option. I have plenty of education. I have
Yeah.
plenty of passions. There are plenty of things, other paths that I were on, other careers that I walked very much far down those paths, and I was
Mhm.
like, I'm still going back."
Yeah.
But it calls to you. And when service is your calling, when
Yeah.
hospitality is your calling, it's hard to step away from that.
Yeah.
I think she would be proud too. Young Felicia wants to eat, drink, and travel and figure out how to not go broke doing that. Okay.
And what would surprise baby Felicia?
Honestly, I think how much I've changed. There are certain things in life, events,
Mm.
that are so significant that they change you as a person.
Yeah.
And I don't think that everyone's career changes them as a person. I think
Mhm.
that some people have careers where you go and you do your job and you learn things and they're exciting, but they don't change you in your
Mhm.
core. And, I think there's a lot of friends that I have that have like extreme jobs, like, osprey pilot. I think nurses, doctors, surgeons, you're cutting off people's limbs. I don't know. Maybe that is normal to you, but I think that when you're walking with people through that type of pain, right? One of my husband's best friends from college is a podiatric surgeon. And I think, like,
Mm.
when you have to go tell someone that they are about to be an amputee, it is the only way, it is this or death. I think when you sit with people, when you celebrate deeply with people, when you cry deeply with people, it changes you. It's a lot. Like some jobs, change you and they shape you at your core. And some experiences change you and shape you at your
Mhm.
core, you know? And I think that as brown women, we experience so much regular trauma that it stops registering. Like when you have to pee and you don't go and then you just ignore it, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't have to pee anymore. But mind you, your bladder is like slowly
Yeah.
deteriorating. Mom stuff.
Yeah.
All the bad decisions you've made in the past coming back to haunt you. And so you're like, pea allergy? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, pea
I
allergy. And
love
for all
it.
the
I love it.
moms, baby, we're sitting here, do your Kegels now, don't play. Like, baby, we are out here suffering, we're fighting for our lives. But truly, it's like
Yeah.
just because you ignore something does not mean it's not there. Black women who come from socioeconomic statuses where our parents were able to give us more things, they were
Yeah.
more access, more opportunity. We were able to travel the world. We were
Mhm.
able to see and go and be. And so now we exist in this kind of like in between world where
Mhm.
we are very aware of what
Mhm.
is happening to us, but we also have to suppress that awareness. And so what does that mean for your life, right? And
Mhm.
how do you grow and thrive and succeed despite of? And so I
Yeah.
think we kind of come back full
Mhm.
circle, right, to the beginning conversation. And it's just like, what does it truly look like to honor and
Yeah.
acknowledge the people who came before you and to measure progress, not just by your story?
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm always reminding myself, right, as I do lots of therapy, as I do
Mhm.
lots of meditation, as I remove triggers and traumas from my life and sit in true
Mhm.
peace,
Yeah.
which is a rare thing for brown women to
Mhm.
have. I sit quietly in my home and I sip my tea and I am thankful for this very quiet season of my life where I
Yeah.
can just pour in and be surrounded by love,
Yeah.
pure love, without all of these other things that we have to manage. And then when I come back into the world, because I will come back with a child, understanding that, like, this life is beautiful.
Mhm.
The opportunities that we have are beautiful. My grandmother just passed away and she was 88 years old, right? My mother was born in 1958. 58 was Brown versus Board of Education. And so my grandmother lived and raised children in a segregated place where you couldn't pop off on the internet.
Yeah.
You couldn't say
Good.
those
Yeah.
things because it was dangerous. But we have different options available now. And
Yeah.
ease is something that we can choose. And so I think that when you choose service, which is already a hard path,
Mhm.
hospitality is a hard path, but you can choose ease in that. You can find your community, you can find your people. And within that space, the conversation is happening as fast as I want it to. No, but progress hardly does happen at the speed that we would wish. But it's there and I can acknowledge it and recognize it, and I can see the women who are coming after me and the people who are coming after
Yeah.
me, and I can say, "You know what? I love that they can say no to the things that don't suit them. I love that there are organizations that honor and see who they are, and there's a way for us to have this larger conversation about how
Mhm.
to be in this space and truly thrive." And I love that. And
Yeah.
so, as I wrap around full circle, I'm like, "Oh, it's been hard. It's been wild.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of things and I'm very grateful for even the tough experiences that
Mm.
I've had, right? It shapes you. And you can take those lessons and you can
Yeah.
say, what do I want to pull from this? What are the
Yeah.
people that I want to take with this? Who are the people who've carried me through this, right? And what version of myself? And like, you can be whatever version of yourself you want to be,
Yeah.
right? If it no longer suits you, if you need to pivot or change
Mhm.
or have flexibility and give yourself grace, give other people grace, double back and apologize, do
Mhm.
that. Because, like, it's great. And
Yeah.
really, isn't that what wine and service and hospitality are all about? It's
Yeah.
finding our common ground. It's finding the place where we can all be like, you know what? People are people.
They are.
And
You
we
get
need
what you get.
yeah.
You get what you get. Well, that was beautifully said, my love. Before you go, Bar Seaters, I am introducing a fun little way to wrap up. So, Felicia, thank you for having a seat at the bar. I have two takeaway conversations. First one, what's something like food or beverage related that you're currently fixated on? And two, what's something you'd like to recommend? It can be an activity, a book, food, or whatever, just something you want to recommend to our bar seaters that are listening right now.
Okay, recommendation, I'm gonna start with that. This one
Yeah.
goes out to the moms, the dads, the stay-at-homes, looking for things to do with your littles in DC. If you are not taking your kids to story time at the zoo, you're missing
Oh,
out. There is a little critters play time at the zoo, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Make sure you get your zoo ticket ahead of time. You just gotta get your
yeah.
pass online. Don't be waiting in line trying to do that.
Yeah.
Take 5 seconds. Just do it before you get there. They curate all of these really fun weekly zoo animal themed habitat curriculum. There's a crazy like splash water tables outside. They have like 5 or 6 of these like gradient water tables that do all the things. Bring an extra change of clothes because your kid is gonna get soaked. I, like, literally cannot recommend it enough. It's amazing. Side note, if you're not in DC and you just want a wonderful thing to do, Longwood Gardens in
Oh,
Pennsylvania are the
okay.
largest private endowment of plants and gardens. My husband grew up going there. It's right outside of Delaware. Do it. Google it.
Yeah.
Take the day trip. Just one of the most beautiful places. Also kid friendly. You can pack a lunch. And then something that I'm like obsessed with right now. Trader Joe's has these key lime pie cookies. Don't sleep on them. Okay. They're little graham
Okay.
crackers squared with like they put like citric acid, baby. They hit. I'm telling you,
Right
if
in
you
the
like key lime pie, they hit so hard. And beverage, I'm not gonna lie, we went to Turkey like at the end of last summer, and I've been pressed on Turkish tea. You gotta make it right. You need a Turkish person to show you or watch some videos. It's very strong. It gets you caffeinated. As a mom, who doesn't have a lot of time, baby. I need small and then you be the Turks know what's going on, okay? No cream required. So
Oh,
it's also
perfect.
for the girlies who are watching their calories, you can get caffeinated and keep the waistline in mind, okay?
Hello. Hello. Well, on that note, I want to say just thank you so much because you're my first guest. You kicked off Bar C Conversations wherever this will lead. You were here at the start, and that's important to me. That matters to me. And
A1
I
since day
wanted
1.
you to start this off with me. So thank you so much for taking the time in your very busy mom schedule to yap with me and have a seat at the bar. So
It
thank
was really
you.
great. Next time I'll be expecting a drink.
Yes. I'm just gonna put this out in the ether. Next time when we have this, I'm gonna have a bigger budget, maybe be a venue, maybe be a live podcast recording, maybe a panel discussion. You never know. Little budget for some food. We love it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I know I did. And that is all. And I will see you guys